The geothermal ones? Oh, not the geothermal ones. I have a geothermal book, but I gotta use it.
All right, so
I ordered the cheap one.
since we're getting started now on lecture 2,
How long was John
we want to talk about projects. We talk about project expectations. We want some sort of a working system from you, whether it be solar hot air, solar hot water, or a wind project. Any one of those 3 would be fine. What kind of scale are we talking about? Well, we talked about we would, if we want to do, somebody wants to do the large wind turbine on the trailer, we're game for that. Somebody can take on that project. How small? What's that?
No, that's just for the.
No, you have to. We are going to be working. We are going to be putting up the wind turbine over at Kettle House this semester. That's 10 kilowatt, but that's already an existing system. It's already been designed. It's already been engineered out. We're just going to be the manual labor to install it and just get you some hands-on experience and actually playing with stuff. But on your own to build one of these systems, let's kind of flesh that out a little bit so you guys know what we're talking about. If you're going to do a solar hot air system, I want it to be a minimum of 1 square meter. And ideally, if you give us nice even numbers of square meters, it makes your math a little bit easier. But I wouldn't sweat it too much. 2.5 is just as easy as 2 to deal with. But think about what you want to do with it. Don't. I know I've had this problem in the past, myself even. I get all excited about building a panel, but I'm not sure where I'm going to put it or what I'm going to do with it. So I want you to first think about, what do I want to do with this panel? So yeah, what is going to be your practical application of it? We started that in Browning, and one of the guys we had up there, Squee, he's a high school teacher up there. He's like, dude, I'm using this thing to heat my outhouse. Because you know what, in the middle of the winter and the power goes out and you're freezing your butt off, but you got to go out and go to the bathroom, something's going to be warm, and it's going to be my outhouse. So he basically designed that panel to heat his outhouse in the wintertime, which is brilliant.
Make sure to turn that valve off in the summer. You go up there, it's really
Oh yeah, it's like
300 degrees.
300 degrees in your outhouse. Yeah. So I want you to think of what is going to be the practical application for it first. If you got a tool shed out in the backyard that you just want to heat, in the wintertime. Huh?
Tools charge. It's not light on the grid or something.
Hot air.
Shed.
Hot air.
Oh, hot air.
Hot air. No electricity in this class. We're not dealing with electricity. Unless I take that back. If you want to do solar hot air that powers something like a Stirling engine to generate electricity, I would be down with that. That would be a sweet project. But I will tell you, I've seen 4 failed attempts at that so far, because you're just getting in way over your head. Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts.
Go over it.
With just solar hot air, there are no moving parts. You add a Stirling engine, you start a generation. You got electrical generation, electrical transmission. You got linkages to spin the motor or spinning the generator. There's a whole lot of complications you probably don't want to deal with. Solar hot water, again, I would recommend keeping it fairly simple. We found out how complicated focused solar hot water is and the risks of burning down your house. We also saw in Browning, their solar hot water was just direct sunshine onto a panel. Wildly spectacular results. They were heating water from 65 to 131 degrees in 2 hours in a 5-gallon bucket. That's perfect for a shower. If you guys got a hunting cabin, you want.
You don't want straight 130 degrees.
Right. But if you guys got a hunting cabin, there's your practical application. You want a hot shower out at your hunting cabin?
Keep the panel out there.
Go for it.
Yeah,
Plug
I'm
the
gonna copy
hunting
it now.
cabin into the grid.
Our timing is a little bit off. I had a perfect project this summer. One of the guys I do long range shooting competitions with, he's got a place up Grant Creek that has a spring in the back of his property, and it's on a hillside. And he started picking my brain. Once he found out what I did, he started picking my brain about, hey, I want to put a solar panel out there to use a gravity feed to water my garden on this hillside, completely off the grid. And this is, probably a quarter mile, half mile from the nearest power source. And it cost him $10,000 if he wanted to run electricity out there to it. But he already had a 120 watt, I believe, solar panel. So I kind of talked him through it. He found a small electric pump, 12 volt pump that I think is normal, like 6 gallons per minute that he can run directly off his solar panel. But because he has 10 or 12 feet of lift or head to get it up to his barrel storage system, it took it down to about a gallon per minute. But if it's only running a couple hours a day, he has a 100-gallon storage thing. It has set up with a high water float switch that turns it off when the thing's full. He has a low water that turns the pump on when it's empty. And he has the valve on a timer so that it goes every day at the same time. I think it actually runs at night to save on his evaporation. But it's a totally standalone system, and it's all, got a little battery box with a 12-volt battery, and pretty amazing system. He was trying to figure it out,
And then he just gravity feeds the water from.
Yep, exactly. When the valve opens, it gravity feeds, waters his entire garden, runs for 2 hours.
So he's not running a pump while he's trying to irrigate.
Correct.
Just to store it.
Right. He pumps it all day when he's at his max solar, or the battery's already charged, so that thing turns on, and when the barrel's full, it shuts off. So yeah, it's a pretty nifty setup, and if you guys have an interest in something like that, we would absolutely entertain that as an idea. But like I said, no matter what it is, I want something with a practical application. If you're just going to put something,
And you're talking PV.
yeah, he used PV, yes.
Doing solar high air, or are we into some PV system?
That's a second class.
Yeah, different class. We're just doing solar thermal, so solar hot air, solar hot water, or wind. As far as our wind system, want an application if you're going to do that. What are you going to use it for? And, and it might just be something that's a little supplemental. If you have something like that, lighter than air turbine, but you're going to mount that on your barn, and it just, while it's spinning and providing your ventilation anyhow, take a look at it. It's got a little tiny brushless motor on there generating electricity. So maybe that is your wind turbine, is a system like that. Have it do something useful though. Have that electricity go somewhere. Have that be your night light inside your barn or whatever it is. I don't know. So with that, does anybody have any ideas right off the bat? We'll kind of work through it as a group and help you flush it out if you got an idea. Yeah,
I'm gonna
Dave.
put an outdoor shower on it.
Outdoor shower?
Mhm.
Okay.
It's just a small, full thermal hot water heater. Very, very minimal, not, 100 gallons, just, I don't know.
5 gallons probably good.
Yeah, 5 gallons at a head that's not, wide open. You wouldn't need that much water to take a quick shower after hiking or hunting all day,
Right. So we're going to do a solar shower. All right. We have a solar hot water expert in the class already, so that's going to help us a lot.
Somewhat.
So some of the specifications we're looking at, you're thinking it's just a shower for one person while you're out hunting, right? Hunting, camping, fishing, whatever. So what do we want for capacity? Is it just you, or is it like multiple people need a shower? Are you like,
Probably two people.
so for 2 people,
Him and his hunting partner for sure.
You watch my back.
Yeah, if I want to make myself not stink, I want them to not stink
Don't worry
too.
about that wash breath sticking in back.
yeah. So it's for 2 people. So how many gallons do you think that would be?
Let's Google how long, how much water the average shower is.
Well, I don't know if you want to do the average shower, because
Well,
I'll tell you, my wife in the house with the nice,
yeah, this is a half hour.
warm shower, and you got 27 different kinds of soap and conditioner, and
And that little massaging shower head.
yeah, you got all that stuff you're looking at. You're easily looking at a 30-minute shower, right?
The handheld massaging shower.
But we're out hunting, so that's the other part I threw out there. Okay, so the average temperature outside is about 30 degrees. How long can you stand in a shower with 30 degrees outside? You're not going to want a real long shower, right? You're just knocking the chunks off.
The average American shower uses 12 gallons and lasts for 8.2 minutes.
Yeah, so you could easily cut that in half, right?
Yeah, 8 gallons.
So,
yeah, so you say 20-gallon tank.
okay.
That would give you, 4-minute shower. And it all depends on your head too. What your pressure is.
Yeah.
If you got big holes in your shower head, yeah, obviously you're gonna lose it more.
So that'll be your gallons per minute or whatever, depending on your head. You increase your gallons per minute.
So what'd you figure, a 4-minute shower?
Yeah.
So that's going to give you, 5 gallons a minute is quite the flow. That's
yeah, this says that 17 gallons for 8.2 minutes is an average flow rate of 2.1 gallons per minute.
right.
I think we're getting a gallon a minute. It's pretty
Well,
simple.
if you had 20 gallons and you wanted a 2 gallons per minute flow rate,
That's
two 10-minute showers.
Yeah.
Okay.
So technically, if you only wanted 5 minutes, you could reduce it back down to 10-gallon tank.
Well, 2 gallons a minute seems like an accurate flow rate for a good shower. That 10 minutes, 4 minutes a shower.
So you only need a 10-gallon tank.
Okay, that makes your life easier right off the bat.
No, yeah, that's reduce weight.
Okay.
Because you don't want to overfill. You don't want more than you're going to use.
And that's assuming too that you guys are going to take back-to-back showers, like one right after the other. I mean, if you could technically get away with a 5-gallon tank and wait your turn for the water to heat back up.
Mhm.
Technically, you could take a black piece of visqueen, like roll it up like kind of a balloon, tie a knot on the top of it, and you just fill it with water and tie a rope on it and tie it off and then hang it in a tree. When you're left out to go hunting, if the sun comes down on it, you can come back with your hunting knife and poke a couple holes up there and stand underneath it, you're good to go.
Are you good to go?
Yeah, it's just
How are you going to hang it in a tree in the sun though? That's the hard part.
Location.
Well, and you guys have all seen those solar showers, right? It's just a little black plastic bag or rubber bag that fill up the water and heat it up.
Yeah, just make some sort of crate.
Okay, and this is definitely off-grid. So you're going to use a natural thermosiphon to heat it? Or are you looking at just using a black plastic bag?
Yeah, I don't know. Could you just take a freaking 10-gallon propane tank and freaking mount it on the roof, spray paint black?
I don't know. We've got our expert here that can tell us about that.
Well, you're gonna have your variance in sun. As soon as you lose your sunshine, you're gonna lose a bunch of that stuff. It doesn't store very
Well,
well.
and your surface area is only on like one little side or on the top, rather than
Right.
if you ran a grid system.
Right, versus you get, if you had it like a zigzag inside a panel, you've got 100% exposure to your pipe. But if you have a tank, especially a 10-gallon tank,
That panel would be more low profile on the top of the camper as to
right?
trying to mount, the tank could be, inside or something.
You'd be better off with small diameter hose that you're running either in a spiral or like in zigzag position. And then, typically kind of put a panel going with that. That way you're heating a small amount of water at once.
There's a panel like that out in the bullpen. It's just copper pipe
Right.
in a big coil.
And actually, you know what, that turned out to be one of their most efficient systems too.
Yeah.
Was just copper wire or copper pipe in a
You
coil.
wouldn't run into the problems that you guys were having where you were trying to make the radiator system with all the piping and not, having the
You're
lock
relying on that thermal
on the
cycle
corner
and it's
with
just
that.
not
I mean, it's
Right, keeps the problem with the bubbles out, and you don't get a vapor lock and explosions and all that.
Let's go black PVC or something. Or whatever they have garden stuff. It's like black.
they have black tanks.
Yeah, so some of our options then that we can do. So we looked at just a black tank. We looked at a panel with tubing.
Plastic bag.
Okay, just like a plastic bag.
Bucket, propane tank.
And those would kind of go in with our black tank up there. So let's take a look at each one of those and say, okay, so the bucket or the tank. And we'll paint it flat black. So what are the pros of that, and what are the cons of that, the deltas?
The weight's gonna be an issue.
Weight. Yep, you're gonna have to have some sort of platform, right, to hold 5 gallons of water. How much is that gonna weigh?
8 pounds a gallon.
Yeah, somewhere 6 to 8 pounds. So yeah, we got a minimum of 40 pounds up in the air. What's the advantages of it? It's easy, right?
It's easy, cheap. It's not puncturable. It's easy. It's a bag. Durable.
Yeah. Sturdy.
Have you seen a bladder on a piss pump? One of those things? Because you just take a bladder and, I mean,
What was that bladder like that you guys took out of the pressure tank?
It was metal.
Oh, that's right. That had a metal lid on the top.
Like a little, I don't know what line.
I know the military uses them. I think other places do too. They make big, heavy bladders, fuel bladders.
All the Priuses and stuff too.
What's that?
All the Prius, like the Toyota Prius, they have a bladder inside the tank and all that.
Okay.
Those hold a lot of weight.
Yeah, there's
Bladder system.
yeah, a bladder system, might be the way to look at instead of this as another option. Okay, heating was a problem, right? Mainly that it would be uneven.
Not certain.
Could you take a bladder and put it in a framework, the same shape and size of a panel that you would put the tubing in, and just have a bladder, fill it up, and then have the sun directly on the bladder, in a
That
panel
was
setup.
about the radiant.
Yeah,
The bladder inside the tank would use some of that radiant stuff.
right. So we may look at that as another option. So let's kind of I just want to flesh out the bucket and just see the plus and minus, and is it, will that work for us And we're just doing this one so everybody kind of gets an idea for their project of how to look at it and how can we break this down.
You might want to put on like a set of mirror behind it, so that the photons come down out of the sky, they go through your heat.
Okay, let's put that down there under
But
mods.
once it hits the mirror, it's gonna reflect and change into the infrared spectrum, and the infrared spectrum, you're gonna get more heat out of it.
Okay, so maybe a mirror.
Some kind of reflective material like
Or aluminum foil or something.
yeah, what's that stuff they use in
Mylar. So we could use a collector.
Another pro would be you don't have to, it's your heating and your storage all in one. It's not having a panel and then still having to have a tank of some sort.
Right.
To store it, it's all sort of self-contained.
Okay. So the mods might take care of our heating. Weight depends on what you got going on. Is it going to be like on a tent, or is it going to be like standing out in the middle of nowhere?
Well, I was going to try and mount it on my sliding camper. So 40 pounds really isn't much. That's a
You can fill it
cooler.
on site, so you don't have to drive around with 40 pounds of hot water all around.
What's that?
I mean, until it gets to where you're hunting camping or whatever, you can just fill it on site, so you don't have to drive around with 40 pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for that matter, you could just run a pole between two trees and hang it on that or something, you know, so.
But definitely, I would want to make it portable. You wouldn't want to hook it, solid to the side of the camper, because then you're going down the road.
Well, that's yeah. I mean, that's the thing. You don't want to just mount a freaking tank on top of it either. That's where a small panel would be, permanent, and then have a storage tank inside, possibly. Yeah. And also, if you pump that hot water down into the tank, in the tanks inside the camper, as it dissipates the heat, it will heat the camper.
You've already got the hot water tank, right?
Well, no, it's very primitive, basically just a box.
For that matter, I mean, if it's a 5-gallon bucket, you can just set it on the roof of your camper
Just
and let it heat up and run a hose off the side. You just stand next to your camper and
yeah.
Have some reflectors going in towards the bucket. The bucket's on
just
site.
run a garden hose with it with your regular, spray nozzle for like you have at your house. And
And it'll be 12 feet off the ground or so it'll have plenty of head.
yeah, good gravity feed.
I wonder what size diameter you need for like a propeller to mount on your bicycle helmet. You're cruising down, you got all that wind, you're going down there, charging your phone while you're riding your bike to campus or something.
I don't know. We could
Or
we
what
could
you
sure
could
look
do
at
is
it.
Maybe you just charge a headlamp for the bike light that you're using or something.
A lot of bikes have generators on them just for that, just for
Yeah,
charging a
it's
battery
the
or.
tire and the tire friction.
Yeah, it goes, you put it down on the tire and it goes from the tire.
But since we're doing wind,
Yeah.
friction would be great.
You just have to deal with.
You can mount it up on the front of your truck.
Yeah, like colorful little.
Have it just going when you're going down the road, you charge it.
Like, we're only down to 2%.
Yeah.
We go faster.
Just have to charge it from that helmet.
Yeah, I remember when I was a kid, they didn't have all the fancy batteries and stuff they do now, and I never had one, but they had this little wheel that came down onto your tire that was the generator, and it'd spin and it'd power your lights. And I imagine there's probably still something similar around it.
I mean, if you need
No.
too big of a blade, that probably would be a good helmet application.
No, and there was a kid, this high school kid that Brad was working with, that was working on a project of having a propeller that basically popped up out of the car to just sit there in the slipstream and generate electricity for your electric car. And Brad ran him through the ringer of all the math of parasitic drag and how much drag compared to how much energy you're going to capture and
Yeah,
efficiency and
I mean,
Yeah.
in order to charge a cell phone, you probably
Could be. I don't know.
Faster than you wanna constantly
Depends on how many
Well.
magnets you had in it, I imagine.
Yeah.
That's
Add-
what I did.
Do the math on it.
you
The
know,
math don't lie.
pound helmet with all these freaking on it.
Okay, so basically any of your projects that you want to look at, this is kind of what we want to do. We want to break this down and look at your project and say, okay, what are the pluses and minuses of it? What are the pitfalls? Is it even worth, hammering the first nail or cutting the first board? Let's do the same thing with a solar thermal panel. And let's say we're going to use this to heat a garage. So we'll call it a standard size garage. It's going to be 20 by 24 feet. Which would be a 2-car garage. Yeah, by 8 feet tall. How big does our panel need to be? Yeah, we kind of want to look at.
By solar thermal panel, are you just talking about just like a sheet with some reflective material that's heating the air around it?
No, it
A
has to be
sealed
like
panel.
A tubing of some kind that, it would heat the air in the tube and then it would diffuse down into the cooler air in the garage.
Actually, they made one up in Browning using window screen. That was pretty sweet. Made a lot of heat because they did. They put aluminum foil on the bottom of it, on the floor of it, painted that flat black. They had a solid sheet of plexiglass on it, and then right up against the plexiglass they had a chunk of window screen painted flat black. So it heated the air going through the screen. Anything that went and hit the aluminum foil was either absorbed or reflected, which came back up and hit the bottom side of the screen. It actually was every bit as efficient in their numbers as the pop can heaters. So it actually worked very well. Yeah, they were getting 150, 160 degrees out of it, no problem. That was only 2 feet by 3 feet. I think it was a fairly small panel. Yeah. So yeah, that was 70 degrees in Browning on a good sunny day. Actually, we never really had any good sunny days. We had semi-sunny days up there. Kept getting hailstorms.
Hurricane winds and hail.
Yeah. But the scenery is incredible.
Oh yeah.
Man, the view out of my hotel room,
You look right into the
gorgeous.
park.
Yep. Okay, so we want to heat a 2-car garage, and obviously since it's a garage, we're not looking at keeping it at 72 degrees
Just above freezing.
around the clock. Yeah, we can
Just-
keep it
just
above
enough to
freezing. We're pretty
chill out
happy.
So you don't go, I'm not going there for it.
Yeah, exactly.
20-degree difference?
Yeah, 20-degree difference would be
Stand
good.
out there in a hooded sweatshirt.
Now, we can obviously crunch out the numbers and say, okay, that would be the question, what temperature do you want it?
And what's your starting temperature?
Yeah. So, how warm?
40, then would be from 40 to 60.
And the other question is going to be how fast?
Or harder.
Because if I want it, the warmer I want it, the bigger my panel needs to be. If I want to, the instant the sun comes up, I want it to jump to 70 degrees when it's 20 degrees outside, bigger panel, right? So,
How are you pushing the air? Just
It just diffuses from hot to cold.
yeah, it'll flow. It'll flow naturally on its own. Because you basically have a thermosiphon, right?
right.
You got cold air coming in at the bottom, hot air going out at the top. It'll just start a convective cycle. It just flows right through. Or you can put a fan on it to assist it, but either way. So that tells us
Will
what
the siphon-
size.
Will the siphon push a fan? Is there like enough convective?
No. Well, it would. What you were talking about, what we talked about earlier, if you want to put a Stirling engine on top of it to use it for electricity. A lot of the stuff, though, you can look towards commercial uses. And if you don't see anybody doing it commercially, there's probably a reason. And it would be that it's not very efficient, right? And the same thing we found out with our Focus Solar hot water.
Yeah.
There's a reason why those aren't on the roofs of houses, because we don't want to burn down houses, and
Not very
they melt everything they touch.
very small areas.
So we want to look at materials, and we want to look at cost. So let's do a page on that, and we'll wrap things up. So solar project. So we got our pluses, we got our deltas. So what's good about putting a solar thermal on your garage to heat it?
Great heat. Free, yeah, free heat.
It makes, heats or possibly heats.
I'm gonna put the little note free-ish, because we do have some cost.
You ever watch that Junkyard Wars or whatever?
Yeah.
It used to have freebie.
That's what SpawnCon is.
Monster Garage. Freebie.
That's what SpawnCon is, man. It's
It's essentially that shit. but
it's
here.
Monster Garage, Junkyard Wars.
There's some pretty cool stuff out there.
So what's some other advantages of it? Simplicity, right?
Is that you're not trying to, keep it at 72 degrees, like thermostat in your house. It's, you don't have to have any kind of thermostat, or you don't have to monitor it.
So it doesn't have to be exact. I would say dependable. If I could spell it, I would say dependable. Dependable and simple. All right, so what are some of the downsides of it?
It's not exact. It doesn't give you an exact temperature.
Takes up space.
Weather dependent. Since I have one on my 2-car garage, I can tell you all about that. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Like you said, like yesterday where it was overcast.
Yeah, that one is,
That was the middle of winter. Your garage wouldn't have been very warm.
although it'll heat my garage is not really all that well insulated, and you can see daylight from in there in places.
Thermal, when it's hot outside and you don't want heat in your garage, you just exhaust. You put the exhaust somewhere else.
You got to cover it up.
Yeah.
But it'll heat my garage to 70 degrees when it's like 10 degrees outside.
Like a blow-off valve.
How big is it?
Shut it off to
2-car.
inside. And just
Oh, how big's the panel? 4 by 8.
And then you cover
Panel.
all the heat.
Um,
Bulky.
yeah.
Either way, if you have to replace your word, that's when it's pretty good.
Can't put it on the roof. It's got to go on the wall.
Really?
Yeah. How would you get the natural thermal siphon if it's up on the roof?
You would know, right?
Can't get the air out of it. Can't blow the heat down into the space.
I don't know if there's like a little tube that goes in and another tube that goes over.
How do you get the air to go down though?
It would, all the cold air would come up both sides of, both ends.
Yeah, both ends.
Lock it and create that air inside
You'd have a
the
hot
tube.
spot inside the panel and nothing.
Nothing.
No, it has to go on the wall. It has to be semi-vertical.
So it starts low so that the heat can rise up
Correct.
Alright, that makes sense. Now I'm picturing the panel.
So it's also location. Brad is insistent that he gets one of these on his house, except he lives up in the Rattlesnake, and he's got a mountain, so he has no sun until 11 in the summertime, or I mean in the wintertime. Then his neighbor has this giant ponderosa pine, which blocks out the sun between 11 and 2. And then by 3 the sun's going down and
Yeah,
there's nothing left. It's already past.
yeah, it's not, it'd be great if you was trying to heat it in the summer or something and there was sun all day.
Right. So it is location critical.
You have to have, you know, the optimal southern exposure.
Yeah, that's gonna be great for sunrises and
I'm gonna put one of the advantages, big time, is that they're cheap. Like I said, the one we made,
Cheap to make, cheap to maintain.
the one we made at SpawnCon with their materials was, with their price tags on them, was $30, and $15 of that was the inline ducted fan, the duct fan to blow the air through it, or blow the air out of it. And I'll make it right here public on the video. They screwed up when they were judging it. The judges came around. We had it all pretty. It was all painted up. It was interior, you know, it was nice flat black. We used this really nice, it looked like PVC pipe, only it was made out of aluminum downspout gutter, like perfectly round downspout gutter, 4-inch. We built the frame to match an old storm window, single pane glass storm window. Had a framework, so it was all freestanding. Had the ducts in there. The judges come around, and we explained to them what it was and how it worked. And everybody, we had hundreds of people coming by. They're like, "How's it work?" I'm like, "Put your hand right up here. Feel the heat coming out." Every single person that came through there did that. The judges, I'm like, "Put your hand up there. Feel the heat coming out." They wouldn't put their hand up there. Like, seriously, dude, how are you supposed to know whether or not it works?
Yeah.
Apparently it was an art project and not an actual science project, you know? So, that's my little rant on SpawnCon, but I don't really care. Apparently they liked it because they still have it, compared to the climbing wall made out of drawer handles and other weird crap, the outdoor bathtub.
Or that homeless bike shelter.
What's that?
Or that homeless bike shelter over there.
Yeah, the homeless bike shelter. There was some crazy stuff. There was some crazy stuff built that won prizes that we're looking at going, seriously?
That's so weird.
Where's the practical application?
Yeah, exactly. So,
An outdoor bathtub, so you put a bathtub outside.
right.
looks good on the front page of the paper though.
So now if you combine that with your solar hot water system, maybe I'd buy off on it, but no.
There's that cell phone charging station that's all solar too, that one was kinda cool.
Yeah, it looked like a palm tree or something, and it had shelves on it on the trunk to be able to charge your cell phones, but they didn't have a solar panel for it, so
Oh, they just wired
they wired it up.
Okay,
So
I was gonna say, where did they get the solar panel? I'm sure one of those wasn't donated. To
Right.
Solar.
right. Okay. Anyhow, back to the solar thermal. So that's what any of your projects, as you're looking at it, I want you to do something similar. Draw it up. You can just do it in Word, obviously, and everybody has the bamboo pad, but draw it up in Word with your pros and cons, a rough idea of what you want from the system. What do you expect it to do, and how are you going to get there? What are the pluses? What are the minuses? An estimated cost, and put that in the discussion. Put that document in there. There's a place in there where you can drag a document in, so everybody else can look at it. So take a look at each other's projects as you do that, and I'll put it up there on Moodle so you guys can see where it is you need to put those. This is just the opening. I want you to look around this week and say, okay, what kind of a project do I want to do? Do I want to do the wind? Do I want to do solar hot air, solar hot water? and just kind of flush it out and see what it looks like.
Then by next Wednesday, have a better, we can kind of chew on it for a week.
Yeah, chew on it for the week, have a better idea what you want to do. You may start doing this breakdown like this and say, wow, that is really not a good plan. Maybe I should switch gears and look at something else. And that way next week in class, we can kind of toss them around a little bit and see where everybody's at. So, all right. With that, I'm going to shut this thing down.
Radiator would have been a great idea though, man.
So keep an eye on Moodle. It's going to change.
Good.
Obviously, it'll get updated, and you'll see in there where to put your stuff in, and we'll address it again next week.
Thanks, Tim.